Everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ballcaps and Bagpipes, Scottish baseball podcast. I'm John McKellar. I play with the Glasgow Comets.
And I'm Jason Durr, former league president and Baseball Scotland Hall of Famer.
Jason, it's good to see you again this week. We've had a great week of baseball. We had a full slate of 3 games this week to talk about. We also have a really great guest coming on tonight. It's Casey MacKenzie, the new manager of the Granite City Oilers. I believe the first woman to manage a club in Scotland, to my knowledge.
As far as I can remember, it is the first.
Yep. So with the strides that Aberdeen have made, especially in breaking ground with women, more women getting involved in the game in recent years, I think that's only fitting that would be where that would happen. What say we get right in about it before we get into the interview and talk about the scores from this past weekend?
Before we start, I want to wish my biggest fan, my daughter Dahlia, her 8th birthday. Happy birthday, Dahlia. I know you're watching in the other room, and I hope you had a great birthday.
A very, very happy birthday to Dahlia. Yeah, I remember it was probably last summer. I helped Dahlia and Daisy build some sort of parlour for dolls.
And Lego. Oh, yeah. I did a lot of Lego today. I have more Lego tomorrow and Thursday. But we're letting her stay up late tonight so she can watch the show. And I wanted to make sure that I wished her happy birthday. So.
Yeah. Very happy birthday again to Dahlia. It looks like we're having some issues with Facebook right now. The broadcast apparently was deleted on Facebook. So I'll have to quickly...
Hold on, I got it.
You deal with that in the background and you put us on live. In the meantime, I'll get us started off with the roundup from this past weekend. So a full slate of games, both AAA games, and there was also a single A game. We'll start off with the single A game because it was the first ever single A game played by the Tayport Breakers A division team. They were victorious by a final score of 7-5 over the Edinburgh Knights. So the Knights they dropped to 1-1 on the season, with the Tayport Breakers starting off to a 1-0 record, which, after the start that the Tayport Breakers AAA team have made, Jason, that's quite astounding that they're 4-0 combined after the slog that they had last season. They've really turned it around, and like we were talking with Jason West last week, the passion and the effort and the work that they put into making that team as good as it can possibly be, and it looks like that's really started to pay dividends on both levels.
They're doing really well. I'm impressed by how far they've done. They've come a long way from going 0-14 to where they are now. So you can only be proud of what they've done.
Yeah, and Shin Yen obviously a big part of their AAA start. Like I alluded to there, they are now 3-0 in AAA. The Tayport Breakers were victorious over the Edinburgh Cannons, who up to that point had been unbeaten in 2. I think I've gotten that wrong.
We'll have to
I might be wrong there.
What, I think a lot of things are going wrong right now.
Everything, yeah, it's all falling apart.
But by scheduling the broadcast, it is clearly it is not. It's throwing everything off.
We scheduled the broadcast. It's decided to delete itself on Facebook by the looks of things, and it looks like everything's going to the wall. I'm just going to quickly bring up Baseball Scotland here so that I've got the accurate scores.
It looks like we are looking to go live now. I have no idea what they called this broadcast there, but I've deleted it and started again. Yeah. But we're live on Facebook. So
and I've got the correct notes up now. So the Tayport Breakers lost this past weekend. The Edinburgh Cannons beat them 13-2. The Edinburgh Cannons are 3-0. So that's a big win for the Cannons after the Breakers' excellent start. Obviously, the Breakers, they beat the Knights in the single A game. So the Breakers open up with a 1-0 record on the season. The Knights fall to 1-1 after an excellent performance against our Comets back last Sunday. The Edinburgh Diamond Devils were at home to the Glasgow Galaxy and were victorious by a score of 7-2. So the Galaxy have picked up their first loss of the season. The Diamond Devils pick up their first win. And in the other game, the Glasgow Comets AAA beat the Granite City Oilers by a final score of 24-3. I want to focus in on the Comets game a bit. There were quite a few talking points. The Oilers pitcher was very good through about 3 innings. The Oilers actually jumped out to an early 3-0 lead and looked pretty good for it as well. The They had a home run from Pat the Canadian. We have had a bit of trouble figuring out how to pronounce his last name. I think it's either Meisel or Mousel, but some people thought it was Musel, so we'll just call him Pat. So very big congratulations to him. I know
Pat
that
the Bat. Come on, let's just call him Pat the Bat.
Pat the
I don't
Bat.
know if Pat's got a nickname now, but he's now Pat the Bat, just to keep things serious.
Like Pat Burrell, the old Philadelphia Philly, I believe. So yeah, the game in Glasgow was quite an offensive heavy one. You know, it was 3-0 to the Oilers early on. I think where things probably started to turn around was when David Flores made his return to the Comets from injury. David has an excellent arm on him, and he's been struggling with a bit of a hamstring problem in the first couple of weeks of the season. He made it down a wee bit late and managed to get into this game. From there, it looks like he settled the Comets quite a bit, and then the Comets bats managed to come to life finally after 2 weeks of trying, really, and largely not being able to hit on all cylinders. 24-3 the final score, and sounds like it was an interesting game, like very much a game of two halves, as they say in football, because at the early going it looked like it was being dominated by the Oilers, and then the second half of it, the Comets came to life.
What did you say? 20-43.
24-3.
24-3. Okay, I was like, wow, we had an American football score. We lost by 3 touchdowns. I heard that absolutely wrong. You have to excuse me. I've had a very busy weekend with my mother-in-law and my 8-year-old and all that, so I had a chance to check the scores. So
you get a pass this week. I think everybody gets a pass this week. This has been a complete disaster so far. See Kelly Edits, my teammate Chris Kelly. He's on Twitch. He says 24-3. Print it, frame it. And he also says happy birthday Dahlia, so she's a very popular young lady today in the Ballcaps and Bagpipes circles. Let's talk the standings very quickly. We'll just go to the AAA standings here. The Edinburgh Cannons, not the Breakers, as I erroneously suggested earlier, are 3-0. They are first place and are ahead of the Glasgow Galaxy and the Tayport Breakers, who are tied in second with 2-1 records. The Edinburgh Diamond Devils and the Glasgow Comets are tied for fourth place. They're on 1-2 records, and the sixth place Granite City Oilers are currently 0-3. In the Single A division, the Tayport Breakers have only played once. They are first by a half game after winning their opening game. They're 1-0. The Knights and Comets are both 1-1. They're in second place, and in fourth and last place at the moment, Glasgow Galaxy Single A. They're 0-1. So that's the roundup from this weekend. We managed to just about get after a lot of technical problems, a lot of just problems in general, to be honest, today.
You can lay that one down on me. I got on the show 10 minutes before live. We're usually good for about a half an hour there.
Well,
we didn't miss anything out. I was eating cake. Lots of cake. Sugar high is kicked in.
If ever there was a legitimate excuse, eating cake is going to be it, surely.
You just have to wait. The 8-year-old girl's cake is nothing but rainbows and unicorns and purple icing and lots of sugar and sprinkles. I
don't see anything wrong with that, Jason.
I'll bring you a case to Glasgow when I come through. All right.
Sounds brilliant. Well, how about we meet halfway? I'll bring some Timbits to you halfway, and you can bring me some birthday cake. How about that?
All right, sounds like a plan. We'll do a trade.
Like a gangster trade somewhere in our dark alley. Timbits and birthday cake.
Yeah, you just have to leave it in the garbage can, so we got to fish it out, right? And you got one of those things.
Right. Okay. Well, with the disaster that this show has been for the first 10 minutes, we need somebody to come in and save it. And it's at this point I'd like to bring in our guest, Casey MacKenzie of the Granite City Oilers.
And she's coming on. There we go.
Hi there, Casey. Hi. Thanks so very much for joining us, the new manager of the Granite City Oilers. Casey, we're going to start from the beginning. However, this is your first time on the show. Would you like to, first off, give us a bit of a rundown on how you got involved in baseball and where your baseball experience goes back to?
Well, to be honest, I actually started taking Erin along to the youth training that started up back in 2018 at the beginning of the year. And it just kicked off from there, really. I mean, within a couple of sessions, I was helping out. So just helping the younger kids and stuff. And then all of a sudden I was on the committee and I was fundraising manager or something like that on the committee. And I managed to help find them some space to store their kit because I work right next to the field. So it just kicked off from there, really.
And so did you have an interest in baseball before you started taking Erin, who also plays for the Oilers and I believe is your relative, let's say?
Oh, my daughter.
I'm not going to date you, so.
Clearly not. Is she going to come on and say hi? Go on, stick your head in and say hello.
Oh, go on.
I got to lean over. Hi.
There we go.
I'm on a podcast.
a live show, not even that.
A live show.
Yes.
Sorry, I totally interrupted your flow there, John.
Okay.
That's quite all right. Yeah, so did you have an interest in baseball prior to that? And if so, where did that come from?
Played a little bit at school, but not really. There wasn't really any opportunities for us at that age, going back quite a long time now. So as far as I was aware, there was no baseball in Aberdeen. But as it turns out, my dad used to play baseball. And I had a cousin as well who played a lot in high school. But other than that, I hadn't really thought of it because I didn't think there was any opportunities in Scotland.
So you talk to us about how you ended up involved with the club in a bit more detail. Then you mentioned that you started to help out. Do you play, or are you more or less just a kind of more of a groundskeeper / manager / umpire / kind of utility person in terms of what they need you to do around the field?
Well, that's how it started. I was just helping out, basically helping out with the youth. And then I got super involved in that and took over the youth when there was no one else available. So I started playing with the kids, basically. I would train with the adults when Erin started going to the adult sessions. And then, well, we were running low on umpires as well. So I started umpiring. I think that was 2019. And then, well, I just started moving up further into the committee, basically, and I got invited on to Baseball Scotland committee and invited on to the Women's Baseball UK committee. So I'm one of the board members there, which then led into starting the Thistles. And I started playing at last season, I think it was. Just pretty much on the development team. And then obviously by the end of the season, we were losing players. So I did end up starting to play on the AAA team.
So that's a bit of an unusual trajectory into the game for someone who's involved. Normally, you would expect, generally speaking, that someone would start playing. They would have an interest in the playing side, and then they would start to play. Then they would work into the sort of administrative side. Yeah. Do you find that there were any unique challenges for you, given that you hadn't played before, when you started to work alongside the club?
Well, I mean, I'm a good 10, 20 years older than some of them, so I suppose the biggest challenge for me has been fitness, because I hadn't done anything like that in years. Yeah, just trying to keep up with everyone, basically.
So do you find that the management side of things is more to your pace then? Is it something you enjoy doing more than playing, or is playing something you would like to get more involved with?
I'd rather play than be on the management side of it, because it's at the moment, I think because of the situation that we're in with players, it is so stressful. So I've pretty much handed over the team side of it and organising the team and the players for each games and stuff. I've handed that over to the two head coaches, which is Pat and David Johnson. Because I just find it's just too much for me.
Yeah, let's get into that a wee bit more then. In this past off season, obviously we saw the departure of Stephen Evans from Aberdeen. He's down in Sheffield and he does work now with WB UK, I believe. He's quite heavily involved with the coaching side of that.
And
Quite a
GB,
lot, quite a lot of players, and especially key players, left Aberdeen as well in the off season. It was kind of a perfect storm of things you don't want to happen to your club. Now this is in a situation where, in 2019 you had both the Express and the Oilers, and it looked like things were really looking up for Aberdeen baseball. Pandemic happening and things being as they are with students and people who maybe work away, players have started to come and go. You've now been handed the reins as manager of the Oilers. What are some of the toughest challenges that you've had to face this past off season, outside obviously of the obvious player management, in terms of trying to keep a hold of people?
Well, keeping people for starters. We've had, I think it was either 4 or 5 pitchers leave this season, just before the season, and 2 catchers left as well. Then right before the season's kicked off, we had first base leave, which is completely understandable. That wasn't due to the team lacking in players or whatever. It was more for travel. Getting to Aberdeen was bad. And then we had centre field leave, and then we had shortstop pitcher leave, and it just all seemed to happen all at once. So luckily we've still got a catcher, possibly 2 catchers. Our biggest problem right at this very moment is we're lacking in pitchers. Erin pitches, but she's not strong enough to pitch a full game yet. She can maybe pitch an inning or 2. We just don't have anyone to pitch full games at this moment. So that's our biggest problem.
So you basically use the kind of bullpen committee sort of way of trying to get through games, like the old Tampa Bay Rays opener and then followed by the follower and all that.
Old Tampa Bay Rays. It's still the Tampa Bay Rays doing that kind of nonsense. So this is basically a rebuild year. It's more or less let's keep who we've got left, consolidate, and then come back next year. Hopefully we'll manage to drum up some more interest in the off season. How much of an eye do you have on next season already, given that while we're only a couple of weeks into this current season, you guys aren't fielding a single A division team this year, and obviously there's been some struggles in the early weeks. You've managed to get through the first 3 games. How do you plan to attack that moving forward into kind of the latter half of this year, and then starting with next year, hopefully a full more of a full squad?
Well, I mean, at the moment we're taking it week by week. We don't have many drivers either, so our biggest problem at the moment is actually getting to away games. It would be nice if we could just, hire a minibus or whatever, but there's not really that much options up here for anything under £300-400 just for the day. So that's a struggle. But we do have players coming in at the moment. We've got brand new players turning up every day. Every day we have training. There's always somebody new who, it's people we can build on. We've got a lot of fresh talent coming in from the university and the college as well. So it's tough trying to find the time to train as well. I mean, this season for us, it seemed like the season kicked off way too early. We'd only had, I think it was 1 training session when the schedule was released. And because of snow, every time we were due to train, it would snow. So, I think we only managed 2 training sessions before the season kicked off. So it was a bit of a shock.
I think that across the league, that actually, I don't think that's unique to Aberdeen. I think across the league, I think a lot of teams sort of were still in that 2021 mode of like a later start, because it did feel like opening day really sort of just sprung up on us out of nowhere this year, especially considering, like, I think there was a lot of obviously we've seen when we were speaking to Paul Convoy a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about a lot of different changes that were made to both the rules of the different leagues and also structure of the divisions themselves. So I think a lot of that took quite a long time to sort of iron out. And then from there, like you say, your club, your participation has been hampered by players leaving by the kind of. It's almost like they're leaving them by the boatload.
It really was. It really was. Yeah.
It's been such a frustrating off season, and particularly just the latter half of the off season. And you guys, I think, have been really left quite badly handicapped by that from a league standpoint, because you've kind of got to fast track these new people that are appearing into the AAA team, as well as trying to sort of keep the people that you still have around you. How confident are you at the moment that you guys are going to keep that core that you still have and build on that between now and, say, the All-Star break?
We're pretty confident. The people that we've got coming in and trying it out really enjoy it, and we've been lucky because they've picked it up really quickly. We had a couple of players on the field on Sunday there, and they'd only been to like 2 training sessions. So they'd never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
They pick up really quick. We have a very young team when you look at them age-wise as well. On the field this Sunday just passed, we had 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 16-year-old. So we have to make do with what we've got, and they're really trying, and they're giving it their all. They don't know the rules. Some of them don't know the rules yet, but they're picking it up as they go along, and they're doing well.
That's it. I mean, Jason, you can tell us all about a certain team for 2008 that a year earlier were all 14, 15, 16-year-olds, and what did they do that year?
They went 0-16 for the season.
And what did they do the following season?
They won the league.
Exactly.
So,
does the fact that you have such a plethora of very young talent give you any sort of cause for confidence and momentum moving forward? Like I've mentioned before, maybe starting with next season in particular, when you've got like a full season of these kids, which is what they still are. They've got quite a bit of baseball under their belt already, quite a bit of experience. Are you feeling quite confident that moving forward from next season on, that these guys are going to stick around, and how are you feeling about their potential as a club?
Well, I think they all have loads of potential. They all really want it. They've come along to the club looking to belong somewhere, looking to just get involved with something, and they're going at it full steam. Every training they're there, they're doing their best. They're listening to everything that's being said, and you can see that they're really, really enjoying it. And that is the main thing, is that they're enjoying it. Like we might have lost on Sunday, but every single person was smiling at the end of the day because we had a great day, and that's what it's about.
Now, you guys came out of the blocks pretty hard early on in that game. It was 3-0 Oilers until I think about the third or the fourth, and it was then that the Comets sort of started hitting, and it looks like the guys pretty much found their stride at the wrong time for the Oilers. I mean, we've struggled quite a bit at the plate the first 2 games of the season. We've scored some runs, but we haven't had a chance to really have like that rally, and it just seems like the Comets clicked at the exact time that the Oilers we're starting to build a bit of momentum. And I think with that also came David entering the game, who is a guy who has so much more experience than probably anyone of these kind of. You could probably take the youngsters that are on the Oilers and combine their experience, and David has probably got more experience than them combined. And he's the pitcher who throws, what would you say, Jason, about 80, 85 at his hardest?
Scary pitching, yeah.
He throws very hard. He can locate his pitches, and for him to come into that game when you guys were just kind of starting to lose the momentum, I think that was probably where the game went off the rails a bit. If you can perform for over half of the game like that against such a lineup as the Comets, I don't see any reason why there's obviously scope for improvement there, and I think that if those kids stay at it and stay as hungry as they are, that could potentially go a long way. Now, what I wanted to ask you from a management standpoint, with like apropos of that is how do you manage playtime to ensure that they aren't kind of overdoing it? Obviously, if they're youngsters, there's always the kind of risk, if you will, of overtraining, overperforming, and potentially then burning themselves out. How do you keep their arms fresh, given that you don't necessarily have great depth most weeks at the moment?
Well, we haven't actually managed to get a lot of pitching training in for most of them at the moment. Erin hasn't done much this season at all, to be fair. There is new training that they're setting up on Saturday mornings for anyone who potentially wants to be a pitcher. It looks like we do have a pitcher that's coming. I think he played with the uni team, and he's good. So I'm just gonna keep my finger on that one.
Yeah,
you keep that ace in your pocket for a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
we have a great comment from Lawrence Cameron. Aberdeen players are just built different.
they are. They are.
We saw that with the Tapework Breakers last year, actually, that they were a team who were putting bat on ball and they were kind of doing everything right. They were doing the fundamentals right. They were getting the bat on the ball, but they just didn't have the pitching, the depth in the pitching. And then Shin Yen came along toward the end of last season. He's obviously, we call him the professor because he's not only an actual doctor, he is a doctor of pitchonomics, I guess you could call him. The guy who just knows pitching as well as anybody that I've ever faced in this league. And then they won kind of the last game of last season. They had a really deep cup run, and then at the start of this year, they've looked absolutely excellent. We've got a great comment from Scott Black here. Overtraining, try catching a full long double header. Now I caught like about 6 batters worth of an inning just over a week ago, and I was absolutely exhausted. I was absolutely fucked. I can't imagine catching a double header. So that's just insane. Hopefully we won't see that many double headers moving forward. Obviously, there will be some situations where a single A player will have to step in a AAA game, and unfortunately, it looks like that might bite the Oilers a bit more than other teams at this particular moment. It sounds great though that you obviously are actively recruiting. Got interest. You've got people who have shown up and they've got a drive to succeed. It looks like they've got some raw talent as well, so that's excellent to see. With that in mind, what are your kind of goals for the next couple of years? Are you looking to just consolidate and make sure that you're sticking around, or do you harbour still a desire to compete for trophies? You've mentioned the picture that you have potentially coming in. Is this potentially a game changer for you that you think could be that last piece that you need?
Yeah, without a doubt. We're training up some people for pitching as well, but we have potentially, if he comes to us, I mean, he said he's coming, so I suppose we just have to wait and see. But it could change things for us, definitely at home games. But we're still going to have problems getting enough people for the away games. We'll be doing extra training, pitching training, for the ones who want to at least give it a go, build up their arms, show them the right exercises, show them how to do it properly so they don't burn out, and just go from there.
Now, you've mentioned the issue with travel to away games. Has there been any discussion with Paul or with anyone else around the league about switching to a closer venue for all parties? So, like, instead of you guys playing home games in Aberdeen, we would meet halfway, or vice versa. Instead of you guys travelling to, say, Glasgow or Edinburgh, there would be maybe somewhere in between. Has there been any discussion about that?
No, no, not yet. But the good thing is about having so many young people on the team is that there is a lot of them that have the free bus travel.
Mm-hmm.
So that is always going to be an option. However, with Erin being as young as she is, she's still only 14. I wouldn't want her traveling on her own. And she would have to obviously go down with some of the players that she knows in trust. So But that's always going to be an option if it gets to that stage again.
Yeah, now we have another good comment for Lawrence Cameron. Simply eat, sleep, and live in the catching position. I've got legs like a frog now.
Right.
I think that answered his previous question. Where he said Aberdeen players are just built differently, so apparently they're like frogs. So, you know.
Yeah, we do our best.
Oh dear. So yeah, like one other thing I wanted to touch on was your forces experience, Casey. Now, obviously, the forces are built on values of discipline, and they teach you a lot of different skills in terms of everything. Really, they teach you in particular like leadership skills. Do you feel that you have any particularly transferable skills from your time in the forces that you are able to lean on in difficult times like this when the club's maybe struggling for players?
Well, I know how to give them in trouble, if that's what you mean. I don't know. I mean, I just see that. I suppose that training that I had has left an impression on me, and it's just who I am now. I mean, I was a supplier, or I think they're called logistics technicians or something. Now it's something completely different. So it was basically I stored parts and I issued, kit or aircraft wheels, just all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I suppose I'm good at organizing. Or we wouldn't have a team this season.
To threaten everybody. You said that you could snap them in half with your pinky. Now they know that you're a logistics manager. They might not take you as seriously. You could have said, you know what? I can't even talk about stuff I did. It's need to know basis. So.
Well, I mean, I played a lot of sport. I played a lot of sport in the RAF as well. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. They're scared of me anyways because I do the mum look. So
so fair enough. I know the mom look well. I get the mom look still. I get scared.
So it's motherhood then that's prepared you more for the. I mean, given the mental maturity of most of the players in this league, that does make sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think half of them were calling me mum the other day, actually. So yeah, I'm used to it now.
So you're a motherly figure for a young club who have a lot of potential, some raw talent there. You've gotten off to a difficult start, but most teams do when they're in a rebuild. Obviously, we've mentioned the Glasgow Baseball Association of 2008. They went 0-16, then won the league the following year. You have a picture that you're suspiciously confident in.
Yeah.
So it looks like potentially the second half could be a much better time for you guys, and hopefully you'll manage to get close to that fourth place and get into the Caledonia Cup. If not, then next season could potentially be when we'll start to see you guys really consolidate again and come back to being the Oilers that we know. I mean, we've seen Aberdeen, the Aberdeen Express finished in second place just a couple of seasons ago. That club is obviously no longer there, so it would be the Oilers kind of flying the flag for Aberdeen. So I wish you guys all the very best of luck with the rest of the season. Thank you so very much, Casey. We'll let you go for now. And I'll see you either in Aberdeen or in Glasgow very soon.
Okay. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
So many thanks again to Casey MacKenzie, manager of the Granite City Oilers, for coming on with us tonight. I did want to point one thing out, Jason, and that's a wee bit of feedback that you gave me earlier tonight. It's the background. Now, the background is my bedroom, which is a bit of a mess. The reason being the kind of office area, if you will, is currently being renovated. I'm painting walls and getting my display all up and ready to go again. So
your shrine to Thurman Munson is going to be ready soon. Is what you're
saying? Shrine to Thurman Munson isn't quite ready yet, exactly. So I'll be moving back into the other room where there isn't like a bare bed and X-Files posters and Guided by Voices album covers. It'll be baseball stuff. So you got some feedback that my background was quite shit. I know it is. But,
I'm going to get feedback from the feedback now. I'm in trouble now.
How many of these has this person won? I'm wondering. There we
really
go.
great comment for Paul. So
Convoy. That's
Excuse
I
me.
want to believe too. Thank you, Paul. I want to believe that, that I'll be ready to get back into my office very soon, within the next couple of weeks, actually.
Like everyone's saying, the season crept up on everybody. We were prepared for the season. We weren't sure what was going to happen. So I still feel like we're still in spring training here. We haven't quite hit our stride yet.
Yeah, I mean,
if you knew about the technical issues we're having before,
season 4 has been a bit of a clusterfuck so far.
I kind of feel like we're like the pitching. Like, all right, you're going to learn to change up this offseason, and we're still trying to get the grips with it. That's kind of the way I feel.
Yeah. Or we're like Gerrit Cole without the sticky stuff at the moment. Just completely lost. Now, there's actually one other Major League piece of news that just came out today that I wanted to touch on with you, Jason. I know that you're going to despise this as much as I do. The San Diego Padres have announced that they will have on their jersey sleeve next season a Motorola patch, an advert. Now, the dreaded day has come. It's going to happen next season, and the Astros without Benz, man, says Lawrence Cap.
I'm loving it, guys. You guys are on fire with the comments tonight. It's been brilliant. I love it.
We'll just keep that up for the rest of the show. So the San Diego Padres are going to wear an advertisement patch on their jersey next year. How do you feel about that, Jason?
You know what? Like it already happened with the Nike jerseys. I saw a photo of the Motorola thing. It doesn't look too bad. It's not as gaudy as I thought it would be. I'm not a fan of it, but it's what it is. So you just kind of embrace it and kind of go, hope it's somewhat discreet, I guess you could say. I mean, it's a 2x2 patch. There's not much you can do. I mean, and we've already got the swoosh on it. I've kind of just said it's coming, and I've kind of prepared myself for it. There's no point in sitting there and arguing and fighting about it because they were already coming. Like, we have no bad. They just happen to be the first people that announced they have the patch on there. So,
I mean, we're still kind of a far cry from football jerseys that have massive like
NASCAR. NASCAR is what we're really good for.
yeah. It's like a patch there, it's a patch there, a patch there. What's that? See, is that a bit of black? Oh, we'll put a wee patch on it. A wee bit of white there, we'll put a patch on it. And it's, I mean, we're a far cry from that. It's just sad to see the death of kind of the traditional baseball uniform. I mean, it's only fitting the death of traditional baseball has happened pretty much in the last couple of years. So we are very much moving into kind of a new age for the game. Some people will like this new version of the game. I personally don't.
All right, Scott, who's your club? Scott's on here. Scott, who's your club? Come on. You clearly have a small city team. You're like a Twins fan or a Rockies fan or something like that.
So our audience.
We're going to go as a D-backs fan. They need all the money they can get. Although saying that, the Pirates fed their whole payroll last year, or the last couple of years, on concession sales alone. So the Pirates are a profitable club, and they literally sold hot dogs for their players. So there was an article about that one that literally like you can sell enough hot dogs to fund your own team, and the payroll for the A's is $30 million. So you know what, you buy enough beers and hot dogs, you can own the.
It's how it should be. It's how it should be, Jason. Never mind all this $300 million salary payrolls and all that. It should be good old-fashioned baseball without the DH, Chris. I don't like the DH, but it's just something we have to live with now. It's universal. It's a universal truth, unfortunately, that we just have to deal with. Anyway, this has been a clusterfuck, Jason, but it's been a pleasure.
Let's been a lot of fun.
Let's quickly review this Sunday's matchups. We have, for week 4, the Galaxy at the Breakers. The Glasgow Galaxy are visiting the Breakers. That's going to be an interesting matchup. The Cannons visit the Aberdeen Oilers. So very best of luck to Casey's club with that game. The Cannons obviously they've come out of the blocks swinging. They're pitching really well. They're hitting really well. What's the secret here, Jason? How do we beat them?
Get them drunk the night before and hope they sleep through their alarm clocks. That's the best advice I'm going to give you. You just got to send them a couple of cases of beer. They sleep through the alarm clocks and you forfeit. That might be your best chance.
And the Comets are in Edinburgh to face the Diamond Devils. At the same time as that, the Single A Comets will meet the Edinburgh Knights for the second time. We had a very tight game that ended 7-6 in favour of the Knights, not this past Sunday, but the previous week. So it's going to be interesting to see how that matchup fares or bears out now that we've both seen each other. I'm going to be there, so it's going to be interesting to play in that game again. Now, I was absolutely rubbish at the plate in the single A game last week, so I'll be out for redemption. No problem there. The Galaxy and the Breakers will also play in the single A division, so I think for the first time we're going to have a full slate of single A games as well. 2 single A games and 3 triple A games, so it's a pretty busy weekend this week. Easter's all done with. We've gotten through the first couple of weeks where the jitters are hopefully now behind everyone, and we can all start to crack on and play some goddamn baseball.
Yeah, like I said, like the first month is kind of everyone's warming up. Now everyone's going to hit their stride, and we'll see how things go till about July, and then July we'll reassess everything.
Yeah, July, everybody will be knackered and half will be on holiday. We'll have to start all over again like we usually do. So yeah, that'll do for this week. Well, yeah, we've got Lawrence Cameron says, forgot to say, I saw Tayport crack a bat when they visited us in Aberdeen last game. They're growing into the name breakers. Well, man, Lawrence is hitting on all cylinders with the banter tonight.
Yeah, it's absolutely on fire. This is brilliant.
It's been excellent. It's been excellent being on. As much as we've had technical problems up the wazoo tonight. Thanks so very much to the commenters who've saved the show. Thank you again very much to our guest Casey, who was excellent. We just beyond that, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. It's at Caps and Pipes, Ballcaps and Bagpipes on Instagram, and obviously subscribe to the YouTube. Search Ballcaps and Bagpipes on YouTube. And subscribe to the podcast version at your podcast platform of choice. If you're listening to the podcast version, a lot of this won't make sense because it's going to be very heavily edited.
The banter is great. I love this.
That's what will happen when you make contact, Lawrence. You should try.
All right.
We should just leave the stream on and let these guys.
I think we've got the makings of a Royal Rumble going on here. We got Lawrence and Scott gonna have a wrestling showdown. This will be fun.
Let's call it a night, and we'll have to separate these guys. Thanks again for watching. And good night.
Hey guys, take care. Hope you guys had a great Easter weekend, and good luck this next weekend, guys. All right, take care.